All right, I will call the meeting to order.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
President Ziegler.
Here.
Trustee Alexander. Here. Trustee Johnson. Here. Trustee Nugent. Here. Trustee Vernucci.
Here.
Trustee Wisniewski. Thank you. It was Joe?
Here.
Oh,
All right, apparently we have a proclamation recognizing President Seeger's service. That's what it says on the papers. It's not just me talking about myself in the third person.
All right, so we've put together this little proclamation. So page 2, I didn't sign, I need to sign that. It says, Proclamation, Village of East Troy, Wisconsin, in appreciation of Scott Seeger's dedicated service to the Village of East Troy. The Village Board of the Village of East Troy, Walworth County, Wisconsin, proclaims as follows, whereas Scott Seeger took the oath of office as village president on April 18th, 2017, and whereas President Seeger also served as a village trustee from 2015 to 2017, a commissioner of the Plan Commission from 2009 to 2017, and chairperson of the Plan Commission from 2017 to 2023, and this is a lot of ands and whereases in this. Whereas President Scott Seeger's contribution to the Village of East Troy are innumerable, even though we've tried to outline some of them here, and appreciated by residents, village officials, and staff. Now, therefore, the Board of Trustees of the Village of East Troy recognize that President Scott Seeger, through his core values of ambition, courage, dedication to public service, and forward-thinking, demonstrated an approachable, respectful, resolute, and even-tempered leadership style which resulted in positive contributions, and he was a champion for our community, village officials, and staff. He shared his sense of pride in the village with all levels of government leaders, property owners, business owners, and visitors, so they would appreciate the many positive attributes of our community. And he put his heart and soul into matters concerning the village with no task being too great or small. During his service with the village, he served on multiple committees, met with interested developers, and never hesitated to talk with concerned residents or answer tough questions. And during his leadership, he supported numerous efforts that have set the course for future success of the village, including financial planning, transparency in government, public safety efforts, quality of life enhancements, and economic development efforts, all while maintaining a sense of community in the village. Be it proclaimed by the Board of Trustees that we express our gratitude to President Scott Seeger for consistently calling upon his core values and for demonstrating a leadership style that assisted in accomplishing many goals for the village. His commitment to public service and pride in the village have contributed to positive improvements that will be recognized for years to come. We extend our best wishes in his future endeavors. Proclaim this 17th day of April, 2023. So. Thank you.
you guys do that one more time?
I wanted to be taller than him. Like
Stand up there.
Here, shake hands. There we go.
Thank you.
I do want to say a couple of things. It's been incredible serving this community. I took this task on, or this role in this community, not thinking I was the perfect person or the right person, but felt like I had the amount of time to dedicate to what is necessary to make sure that things are right for this community, I guess you can say. But my time is nothing compared to what this entire board has done. I love this proclamation. It's incredible, but I didn't do any of this on my own. I did everything on this, and we have done everything as a group. And that is what has made this past 6 years so successful. Not by my accolades, but by what every single one of us together have done. The biggest attribute to this community has been by way of our leadership from PD. Jeremy, you are a lifetime resident of this community and an incredible leader for our PD. Can't think of a better person to have as our chief. Truly an incredible man. Thank you. Jason, You kind of run those same categories, man. You moved out of here, but you still commit yourself to this community. And it's proven every day in the way that we can all rest assured that the snow is plowed, the trees are looking nice, and all the needs of this community are met because of your efforts. It's incredible. Lori, how do you do it every day? Sitting at that front desk, the calls, the steps in front of that glass, and just making sure this ship is righted. It's incredible what you do. So thank you very much. And definitely, Eileen, this village could never be where it is without you. You are absolutely the heart of this community. We talk about that square being the heart. It's not the truth, it's you. You have so much dedication to this community, to your staff, to the continued growth of this community. It's shocking how well you do your job. And thank you so much for making everything in this community so much better by your efforts.
Thank you.
Everyone that's on this board, 40 years, oh my word, so happy to have you here for that knowledge of how many years you've been here. We need that history. We need it every single time we're in these meetings. We make sure we don't make mistakes in repeating it. And we can repeat it if it's good, but let's not repeat it if it's bad. John, again, you showed your efforts today, your IT skills. Thank you for unplugging and plugging back in. Appreciate it. No, but you to come back on this board, I asked you to do that when I vacated the role when I was a trustee, and I was also running for village president. Thank you so much for taking on that role. It's just it's a great fit. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Joe, you and I have known each other a long, long time, man. Thank you very much for not bringing any pictures of back in the day here. But you do have a great dedication to this community as well, and thank you for serving this community.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Mary, thank you so much for coming back. I am so happy that you're here. I love the dedication. I love the female leadership that we need in this community. And you definitely filled that role very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Matt, you are going to be so much better at this than I am. And I'm really excited for you to take this role on. It's not easy, but no question that you're the perfect fit for this role. Thank you so much for taking it on.
Thank you.
All right, with that being said, we'll continue the meeting. All right, citizen participation per village resolution 2017-01. Anyone wishing to address the village board during citizen participation will be allowed 5 minutes. Your subject can be anything, whether on the agenda or not. The village board should not engage in a discussion regarding comments because it was not part of a publicly noticed agenda. Upon conclusion of the citizen participation segment, members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they are participating in the public hearing or specifically allowed by majority vote due to involvement in an agenda item. With that being said, would anybody like to speak during citizen participation?
Thank you for your service, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, if there's nobody that wants to speak during citizen participation, I will close citizen participation and move on to consent agenda. One motion and a second will approve all the following items. Any item may be pulled from the list and voted on separately.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I'd like to pull number 8 if we can, please.
Well,
The question I have is essentially with Chief, I know that, I mean, they had this last year, I believe, and it's great. Okay, third. But I guess there was some issues at the first couple times about parking on private property with the motorcycles and stuff out there. And it's just, I guess they had more people show up than they had planned on, and that's good. But is there going to be like a lot attendant or somebody out there to help direct where they can or can't park so
Yeah,
that?
it says in one of the pictures, parking will be directed.
I understand, but I guess they said they were going to do that the last time. and they have somebody at the place saying, yeah, go park over there, but they don't have a lot attendant out there to keep an eye on things, is what I'm saying.
They do have a lot of tenant out there. The couple times that it was very busy up there and they had more people show up than I think they thought were, I guess it kind of depends on who the band is. There's a couple bands that they get every summer that draw the big crowd, and I think that was the issue. Because I know that there's one of them, I mean, they were parked past this building down
Right.
here on Energy Drive, so I think they tried to, they do have a lot of tenant out there directing people where to go, but when their lot gets full, then it's kind of a free-for-all on where people park. And I don't know if they can control where to tell people to park when their lot's full and people are still coming in.
Well, I guess they can tell them to park on the public roads, but not on private property.
So it didn't necessarily have to be pulled, just discussion about the item, right?
Right, I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure at least that issue was brought up.
So any other discussion? There's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to miscellaneous business. Consider renewal of the food pantry lease. Any questions about the memo and the $20 increase?
Can we just waive the utilities?
There we go. It's a policy decision for the board. The concern would be that if you waived it in this scenario, I'm not sure if there's any other comparable lease agreements or arrangements that you have with other charities, which may be opening the door to that position. If none, then it's not a concern.
Do we?
No, I don't think there's anything that you could compare it to. The only thing that comes to mind is like for the baseball, we try to cover our utilities, but that's a baseball club. So I think that's a little different scenario than a food pantry, which is more charitable.
And I get too that this is a 5-year lease. I mean, if we wanted to put something in there like we'll evaluate utility costs each year, but my initial position right now is it's $1,000, that this is for the most needy of our community.
Matt, I tend to agree with you in that regard, but I think maybe so that we keep ourselves in good order here, maybe we would ask somebody in the office to look at that issue, to see what we can do in the proper order so it's legal and everything else, and then we can come back and bring it back and said that would be our proclamation.
Not to overshadow that comment, but that's why we have legal here, to answer those questions. So,
I would just think they'd have to write something up though instead, but I don't know.
Slip, isn't it?
It should, the lease should be changed, or if that's the way the board wants to go, the lease should be changed to reflect that. So in that sense, you're right. I mean, otherwise, we're in kind of this weird situation where the lease says one thing and the board's position is something different. So yeah, if you did approve it, it'd be subject to that change being made.
so Jason, do you see any issue with this?
There's really nothing time-sensitive as far as the lease is concerned, other than them paying another month's rent.
I'll just make a motion to approve the leases written pending an adjustment to, I guess, whatever the phrasing with legal would be, to not charge them rent.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, update on IGA with Town of East Troy for Highway 20 sidewalk. Any questions about that memo or the agreement?
Just a couple comments. DOT reached out today just for an update on this. And they also wanted to share with us that the cemetery group did reach out to them to let the DOT know that they are not in favor of the sidewalk going in, just so everyone's aware. Excuse me. The other thing I talked about with Attorney Pruitt in regards to the IGA is, so when I initially reached out to the town of East Troy, they didn't realize they had an ordinance for snow abatement on sidewalks. So just one of the thoughts I had was, okay, what if we enter into this IGA and the town decides we want to get rid of that ordinance? Then what? And essentially then it would just all fall back on us anyway. So just something to consider.
Well, I know that the biggest concern that the cemetery had was the snow removal in that area, and there was a couple of concerns about drainage, and I had a conversation with some people about that may be solved with this whole process and sidewalk installation. But it happened to happen with Benchmark within earshot of the conversation, and he came in to tell me that he was going to volunteer his services to clear the snow in front of that cemetery for his existence, the business's existence, for as long as he can.
And that, he did share that with me as well. So I believe that to be a true statement. You know, I mean, as long as they're there. I don't know that you could bank on that forever, but it's, that, I was told the same story. There's nothing in writing, of course, but.
Right.
I have a question, though. Jason, how long is the entirety of the sidewalk run that was being discussed?
So we're talking essentially from the railroad tracks all the way to the intersection.
About 1,500 feet?
Yeah, give or take. I don't know the exact number.
And how much of that is with the cemetery?
The majority of it,
But it's not all of it, though, right?
correct.
So, because
The
there's,
railroad would have a portion in their railroad right away, and then the property owner from the cemetery to the east to the intersection would have some maintenance as well.
so then that would actually involve 3 parties then?
That is correct.
So we started this initiative a while back about connectivity within our community, walkable, and this sidewalk is part of that. It's a safety issue for our residents. You know, we've got a major retail organization, Quick Trip, that's within our village rights, and we have a small section of sidewalk that has the opportunity to give people safe passage to that retail establishment. So if we've got a 1,500-foot stretch of area that we're getting a verbal commitment from Benchmark identifying that they're willing to do snow plowing, and this seems to be the biggest issue is the snow removal. Maybe it's because of the time of season. But I think, if we take this on, let's then assume that at some point we may end up having to remove the snow completely from that area as a village. But I truly see it as a safety and walkability concern of this community that we really should continue that sidewalk. I understand the reservations of some, but it just makes sense for our residents to have this safe transportation, or safe route.
Jason, question 2. With Scott, I agree everything that you said. It does make sense, especially people from that part of the village. If they wanted to come down and either go to the Quick Trip or whatever they want to be, they don't have to cross Highway 20 to then come over and then cross back. But my point is, though, Jason, you and I discussed a little bit, and just ballpark figure, what does it cost to put in a sidewalk as far as it's like a 4-foot section, or is it? I can't remember.
I don't have any idea what this section, it's going to be 5-foot wide walk because it's DOT standards, and they've also got to move some dirt, so it's going to be a pricey section to install. I mean,
So
there's no doubt it would
Would you
be
figure
better.
it would have been about $30 a foot?
Maybe.
So that's 45 grand. And I was just telling Jason, I said eventually, if the village were to install sidewalks there, it would still cost us a lot of money to put them in later on down the road.
So are we looking for a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement?
Yeah, I just had a quick question.
Yes.
So I tried to look for a drawing or some kind of rendition of this. Are they going to narrow that road on 20? Because right now it's basically 3 lanes wide. Are they going to make it 2?
So they are moving the curb in a little bit, yes, narrowing it to make room for sidewalk. And the concern also about the tree is there's a large tree in front of the cemetery, and that does not go away with the sidewalk.
So then how far would the sidewalk be away from the, say, the gate of the cemetery?
I believe there was a 5-foot terrace from the back of the curb, and then 5 foot of grass, a 5-foot sidewalk. I don't know how much between the sidewalk and the fence. I would think it's going to be similar to the 5-foot, though.
And there's always been some kind of drainage issue at that cemetery. With this project coming through here, there's no way that the DOT or the engineers involved with this project could allow for that water to settle there. It would have to be some kind of diversion, so either way with this project, I feel like it's going to help.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the drainage issue is that's within the cemetery. Is that, I don't know anything about that.
Right at the gate, that I just talked to Tom Sempt about it. He
Okay.
happens to be a part of that organization.
I don't know if if the state is facilitating any drainage for that or not. I really don't know.
Well, in that case, I'll make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement for the cemetery sidewalk along Highway 20.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have a question. Is there, if we're going to do that, is there really need for an intergovernmental agreement?
The state's requiring it.
Well, I understand, but I'm just saying, it sounds like
So in
We're
a
gonna-
nutshell,
doing it.
but here's the thing, it's not in the village. So the town has to okay it. And in order for the town to okay it, they want the IGA.
They're going to want something from the village then that's going to say that we're going to take care of clearing the snow.
That's what the IGA is.
Okay.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, update on multiple squad cars.
So, as you're all aware, unfortunately, we're down 2 squad cars because of accidents in the last month. But about a week and a half ago, we did receive one of them, a replacement. It's out in the parking lot if anybody wants to take a look at it. We are still waiting on equipment to set up and outfit this squad car, which I don't know how long that's going to take. Luckily, when we went down and picked up this squad car, we got a tour of the dealership, and the manager just mentioned that they just got a new stock of some squad cars in, and some of them were not, I guess, assigned for yet or sold. So since I knew that we had another one that we're going to need to replace, I asked him to put a hold on it. At that time, he said he would, but he said he'd only do it for a week because he said we can sell these quickly because people are looking for squad cars because they're just not fulfilling orders. Ford's not fulfilling orders. Chevy's not doing so good. So I was hoping to hear something from insurance last week. I did not. But last Thursday was my deadline date, so since we were replacing that squad car this year anyway, I just went ahead and told them that we'd take it. The first squad car, the one that's out there, insurance reimbursed us fully for that one, so it didn't cost us anything. And they're also, from my understanding, all the equipment and the outfitting of the squad is going to be picked up by them too. So I'm hoping we'll hear something this week on the one that's in the garage. So I would think we'll be receiving this other one in a week or so, I think. They're going to ship this one up. I'm not going to drive down there to pick it up. It was a nice drive, and it was nice that we went down there to see what their setup was. I kind of thought we were going to a dealership, and actually this is a dealership, but all they deal with are squad cars. They don't deal anything else there. They have 6 other dealerships in the area down there, but this one is just solely squad cars, and that's all they sell. So it was nice. They had a whole bunch of them down there that were sold that they're just waiting.
Some bumper cars?
No, they were all brand new, so it's nice for future reference if we ever run into issues again. I think they're great to work with, and they're very, like Thursday night, I remembered I needed to quick do this before they let it go, and I emailed him like at 6:30 at night, and he got back to me within 15 minutes, saying, okay, I'll send up the worksheet for you to sign. So, yeah,
Well, it sounds like a good thing that you went down there then, otherwise this opportunity might not have presented itself.
right, yeah, so that's our update on that.
I just want to provide a further update on the insurance itself. I did talk to our broker just to ask how this might affect our rates next year, given that that first was an uninsured motorist. So, you know, it was fully on our insurance company. This one, they'll try to recover some money from the other driver's insurance, potentially, depending on how the police reports pan out. And our insurer will make sure that we get a replacement squad. They will recover what they can from the other insurance company. Rate-wise, he said because it is a pool, this should not affect our rates any more than everybody else in the pool's rates next year. The thing it would normally affect is the dividend that we receive. We used to get a dividend, that was based on workman's comp alone. Now it's based on workman's comp, auto, and liability. So it would typically affect our dividend. However, we've been guaranteed a 20% dividend the first 3 years because we have no claims experience with this insurer. So I think that it's not going to negatively impact our rates like I had anticipated.
When you drove down there, did you drive another squad down there? One of our last remaining ones?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Rolling the dice. Yeah, we were rolling the dice. We're rolling the dice every day, so, yeah.
All right, sounds like a great decision. Thank you, Jeremy, for making that choice to secure that on Thursday. All right, moving on to ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 2023-05, proposed amendment of the Village Comprehensive Plan by changing the land use clarification of a part of tax parcel RXUP 00202, Kiwanis Heritage, Inc., applicant, application 2023-03, from the 4/3/23 meeting. Hope everybody has read the memo, and I'm looking for two motions at this point, or one motion. Two motions? Two separate motions.
So I'll move to accept the withdrawal of the application for the rezone from the Kiwanis Heritage.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
In that case, I'll make a motion to cancel the public hearing with regard to that.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, Resolution 2023-05, adopting natural hazard mitigation plan from the 4/3/23 meeting. I think we still have the public hearing open at this point. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Any of the board members that had questions from 2 weeks ago, Lieutenant Rowland from the Walworth County Sheriff's Department is here to answer any of those questions.
Okay, I'll go first, Matt.
When it's your turn to talk, get the right one.
So Lieutenant, I was just concerned because when I see a plan that looks strategic in nature, one of the things I look for is the individual action plans or action items being tied to an objective in the plan. And I'm not seeing that in some cases here. And so I was just questioning the methodology behind putting the plan together, that's all. Because there were some, and I'm not going to find it, of course, in time while I'm trying to buy time, prevent injuries and deaths from tornadoes. That's an objective at one point in the plan, but I don't see any specific action items that reinforce that. I mean, it should be applied probably, but I just don't see them. And so I was trying to tie things back, you know, what action items are appropriate or are based on X objectives. And so I just asked that in going through that plan, that sort of thing was taken into account, that's all. Does that make sense? Am I making sense to you?
Certainly.
Good.
So the thing about the plan is it's a county-wide hazard mitigation plan. It's not directed towards any one community. Each community has the right to adopt it and take it in to do what they feel is appropriate for their community. So for tornadoes, as an example, because it's such an overreaching topic, it's difficult to say that this one specific objective has a specific goal in mind that's going to reach throughout the entire county. So there's an overall objective of saving lives and property, and how a community, when they adopt the plan, goes about doing that is up to that community. So an example of that is within the last plan period, there's a manufactured home facility in Lyons Township. They didn't have any place for their residents to go during a tornado, a severe thunderstorm warning, anything along those lines. So what they did is, because using the hazard mitigation plan as their backdrop, they applied for funding for a tornado shelter to go in their manufactured housing facilities. And they were able to get grant funding to do that. And now they have that facility within that manufactured home facility. There's one of those in your community as well. If that was something that your community wished to do, you could use that as one of your examples of, we're here to protect, we want to protect the lives and save lives and property. This is how we want to do it. And as long as there's a grant out there with the adoption of this plan, it makes you eligible to look for those, or not, it makes you eligible to apply for those grants and potentially receive the federal grant funding that's out there. So though there's not a specific a goal tied to that objective, it's an overall reaching goal with an objective to be defined by each community.
All right, I didn't realize it was that specific for each community. Okay, good, thank you.
That's very helpful, because I think one of my concerns was just like when we talk about priority and amount of staff time and things like that. I was kind of, it's like, what are we signing up for, for our staff? So that's really helpful. What are it's like some of these are about developing better data around like flooding and, and I think about during a tornado or something, our ability to continue to deliver services with, what if our new radio system gets knocked out because of the tornado, or internet is down and we have dispatch issues or whatever. Is that also kind of would be in some of the supporting documents behind this?
So that would more or less, sorry about that, more or less fall under your either the county's or the village's continuity of operations. It is up to the county to have backups on backups, so that if a tower goes down, how does radio communication continue? And in this case, with our new radio system coming up, we could, from the way I understand the project, Captain Newman would be able to talk more about it. We could lose 2 or 3 towers and still have sufficient, or at least better radio coverage than we do now. So again, that's part of our continuity of operations plan. How would that affect the village as far as radio operations? Radio operations may not change. Some of the traffic might be a little bit more garbled, but again, in the grand scheme of things, they're still going to have that radio communication. As far as other infrastructure, again, that would be up to the village to decide how are you going to take this plan and set up your continuity of operations so that if a cell tower or a communications tower goes down and you lose internet, what's your next best option? How are you guys going to plan for that? So again, it's not one organization dealing with how is the community doing it, because a lot of communities don't want the county proper to come in and go, this is what you're going to do in this event, this is what you're going to do in this event. We kind of give, with this plan, kind of give an overall umbrella template of, here are some things to think about, and we'll help you reach those objectives if we can.
So if I'm understanding, then it would behoove any municipality to basically have its own infrastructure or setup for an emergency management situation that could then be assisted by county, correct?
Well, I guess it depends on if the community or the municipality has the funds to do that. Most municipalities don't, so they, like with the radio system, they rely on the county to do that. And in that instance, we have set up as part of our planning process for that, if it were to go down, how are we going to keep that communication open. Now, for something that isn't a county project like internet, as what was brought up, that's not one of the things that the sheriff's office or the county needs to provide or has to provide. So if there's something, if you want to ensure the people within your community have internet capabilities, that would be something that you would have to look at as being a key infrastructure that you want to ensure that you keep providing it.
I guess what I was getting at, and I apologize, I wasn't as clear, but I remember some years back, there's a tornado had come through from Lake Geneva and went through Lyons, came down, was coming up towards our way. I think it even hit Spring Prairie. And, thank God it didn't hit the village. At least, we didn't have a lot of damage. But in essence, that if something were to have a 10 or 20 mile an hour swath through the county, you guys would have your hands full. It would be really tough. And that's kind of what I'm alluding to, is to say that it would, in my opinion, instead of the village of East Troy going, gee, Walworth County, you got to help us, at least if we would be able to assist ourselves until we could get Walworth County's help.
Well, Forty, I think that what's happening right now is that Officer Rowland has this program in front of us for this hazard mitigation. And that's a great template that we can then analyze what's going on within our community and solidify what we need to. We can identify exactly as he's stated. We have a trailer park that may, a manufactured home facility that may need some kind of assistance or a place to go. So we'll evaluate this. I'm sure Jeremy is looking at this in detail. He's been a part of this whole thing. And we'll assess whether we need to do something, any changes within that structure. So that would be that's the way I see it, right? We've got the guideline, we've got this template here. Now let's evaluate it from there going forward, how it's applicable to us.
I agree. And like I said, and part of that, what you're just saying and what we had talked about in the past would be, if a tornado were to come through here and flatten this village hall, then we would have to have a secondary or another area set up that we could set up village operations at.
So not to get too far off topic of what the hazard mitigation plan is, but to kind of answer your question, if there's a natural incident or even a man-made incident that happens that is that severe, that it overwhelms the village, that's where your declaration of or disaster declarations come in. Once that is declared by the village, that brings in assistance from the county. If the county is overwhelmed, the county is going to end up issuing a disaster declaration as well. With those disaster declarations, we then go to the state and get assistance and items from them to help all of us work through the issue that we have. If for whatever reason we tap out the state because we have those local declaration of disasters, that's when we go to FEMA. So it's kind of like a tiered or a stepped approach to it, so that you don't have, and again, you don't have to always have the answers for, if this happens, we're going to do A, B, and C. It could be, if this happens, we're going to do A, but if we do A, we're going to be tapped out, so then we're going to go ask for assistance from another area. And that's kind of how, again, with the disaster declarations and having your hazard mitigation plan in place, that gives us steps and guides as to where we need to go with that.
So what I'm seeing is
The suggestions that are in there are, they're given priorities, but the time frame or the dates that you have on there are for how long the plan lasts. The mitigation plan lasts 5 years. So by the end of '26, we should be working on and adopting the next 5-year plan. So just because there's something in there that says the village should do A, B, and C, or it's highly recommended or encouraged, the village does A, B, and C, if you don't do it, it's not the end of the world. It's not like you get slapped by anybody or you're in trouble now. These are guidelines or recommendations of, these are things that we've seen, you may want to look into those. Again, if there isn't anything done, you may not do anything on these lists that were created by the consultant. No harm, no foul. Some of them in some of the communities haven't been looked at in 10 years. They've not been touched or updated or anything like that. It's what happens.
So we're not putting the community at risk for losing FEMA funds, for example, if we don't have it? Okay.
No, and the thing is with adopting the plan, you're not going to, or not, by not completing anything, if you will, that's listed in the plan as a recommendation, you're not losing anything. But what you're really gaining here by adopting the plan is the ability to look for and obtain federal fundings to help mitigate any disasters or problems that you may see that are in the village.
Can we adjust the priority? Some are low, some are high. Can we adjust that, or is that?
Again, those are just recommendations that were listed by the consultant when he looked at everything. So if you guys put more weight on one item and another, and that's where you want to focus your attention, that's completely up to the municipalities.
This is very helpful, thank you.
Yeah, it is. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Hold on, I got public hearing still open. So one more time, public hearing is still open. Anybody have any questions, comments? No, then I will close the public hearing. Now I'll take a motion.
Okay, in that case, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-05, adopting a natural hazards mitigation plan.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, potential revision to the zoning regulations with regard to attached garage and attached accessory buildings in residential zoning districts. So one of the things you'll see on there is that we changed it from a 50% to 70%. I guess if you looked at page 2, really kind of shows that percentage to there. And the reason for it is we had originally had a conversation about 50% of what the square footage of the home is. And if you did that to somebody that has a 1,200 square foot home, they're limited to just a 2-car garage. But there's a lot of situations where people want to have a 3-car. So why would we say that that percentage was that low? So 70% seemed to accommodate better needs within the community for larger garages attached to their homes. And there's also a kicker in there that would allow for you to take away from anything that's allowable in a secondary accessory building, i.e. a shed, that you could also add that square footage to this garage area as well.
So my daughter's looking for a house, and they're listing the square footage, like in the past, it just lists the first and second floor, but now they're also listing the basement. So I don't know if this calculation is in with that or not. And I don't know if that's.
If the basement is approved living space, then that would be additional living square footage to the home, yes.
Scott, I would think if there was any big question on that, would be checking with the building inspector be the way to go then? Just to be safe?
Building inspector or a tax roll.
Okay.
Are we adopting this ordinance, or are we saying Plan Commission do something with it? Just the agenda wasn't
No,
clear.
we set a public hearing for it already, right? And we're good, we're ready to take it.
This was a recommendation from the Plan Commission to approve it, so it would just be whether you're accepting the recommendation to approve it or not, or if you want to make modifications to it with the approval.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-04.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to reports. Anything for Chief for first quarter report? How about advisory committee, airport advisory committee from 3:13? Any questions? Planning commission meeting from 4:10? Any questions on the March financials? A through E.
When's the audit presentation?
That should be at the next meeting, I believe. We have it slated for the first meeting in May.
How about emergency services from 3:21?
I had a question. And I guess it was, of course, maybe I should just ask it later when Jason.
He's not here.
I know,
And
so.
Barb already left, so.
No,
yeah, sorry.
that's not a problem. The only question I was going to ask would be, they were talking about discussion with Spring Prairie on the new ladder truck. And if they're not, and I can understand if there's some question as far as paying for it and this kind of stuff and everything, and I don't know, I mean, the way I looked at it, they're working out some deal with Town of Troy for ambulance service, correct? Right?
So the town of Troy is, for rescue, a contracted entity.
Right, that's kind of what I was getting at. But then, would it work out then the same to have a contracted entity with Spring Prairie for the use of the ladder truck?
No,
Okay,
because they're a member of the district, and they've approved, and as a member of the district, they approved their budget. So they're responsible for their portion of that regardless of being a member of the district now, or if they would decide to withdraw. So a number of years ago, Town of Lafayette withdrew from the district. They withdraw all ownership rights to any of the equipment, and if they want to engage, which they did, and for the coverage area that was within the district, it was partial, like Spring Prairie, they contracted with the district for rescue and fire. And so Spring Prairie could choose to do that, but for the purposes of the ladder truck, they've already approved the budget.
I understand that, but I guess that from what I was reading, that they're a little reticent about having to cover the cost of it, too.
Yeah, they could be reticent, but now's not the time to be reticent. It would have been during budget hearings.
I understand what you're saying. I just thought I'd ask about that other option, that's all.
Okay, how about library board minutes from 3:14? Anything for Mary?
Oh, did you meet with
Not yet.
okay. Whatever they call themselves now? Prairie Lakes?
Prairie Lakes.
Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 1985 1E for the purpose of conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session.